Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everybody. This is the Slider Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3 episode Wizard for a Day. So this episode is a Rocky-centered episode. I picked this episode because Rocky, the red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, was the very first Hispanic superhero I've ever seen in television that was actually that of Hispanic descent. See, years before Power Rangers, I saw the Zorro TV show that many other people saw. And Zorro is supposed to be that of a Mexican hero. Problem is, he's always played by a white guy. And so, even though the character is Hispanic, I don't consider that as being my first Hispanic hero. Rocky, played by Steve Cardenas, is actually, however, Hispanic. And he is the second Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. And Rocky, I've always liked Rocky. I've always thought Rocky was a pretty cool guy. He always had cool hair. And like a lot of people don't like Rocky for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with him. And he the only thing that sucks about Rocky is that he's the only red Power Ranger he's the first of two Red Rangers to never be the leader. The first is him, and the second one is the dude from Alien Rangers and stuff. And because both their Ranger teams, their leader are White Rangers. And the White Ranger was only made to be the leader is because Tommy was so popular in Power Rangers history. And in season 2, when he came back to the show, Han Saban made him the White Ranger because Austin St. John at that time was the Red Ranger, and so they didn't want to switch up the colors and stuff, but they still made Tommy the White Ranger the leader. And so because of that, Rocky was never truly ever the leader of the Power Rangers, but he is second in command, and he does sometimes take command, especially in the Zord area and stuff like that. And sometimes he goes solo with his Zord to defeat the people because of that, of the Sentai stock footage. But Rocky was always a cool character. He was always there for the team. He, there is that one episode in season 2 where he's playing some game. I forgot what it is. And a lot of people always think of Rocky as just playing that game and being obsessed with it. But that's only because he was under a spell. And, when it comes to Rocky's solo episodes, it's hard to find a really, really good one. There is one where I think he had to do with swimming and stuff like that from season 2. There's one time when he helped the dude who was dyslexia, I believe it's called. But I've always just liked this episode because it really shows off his smarts and everything. And so with this episode, when it comes to representation and him being the very first Hispanic superhero I ever saw, it's insane because this came out early, almost mid 90s. And, I've been around since the 80s and stuff. And that's really sad. I've never seen a Hispanic superhero and stuff. And that's because the Hispanic culture is taken for granted on television and in Hollywood. You rarely see them represented, and if you do, it's always played by somebody of a different race. And if you do see them, they're always the bad guys or something like that. And that's quite a shame. And it's quite a shame that there aren't that many Hispanic superheroes. I really can't even name that many, to tell you the truth. But the one great thing about Power Rangers is that since it's such a diverse cast, that there are many Hispanic Power Rangers and stuff. Some that are even smarter than that of Rocky. The one from Operation Overdrive, she's a genius and everything. And it's always great to have representation because you want to see yourself on screen and not just that of everybody else or just one race and one race only. And so, with this episode, before I get into it, it's so weird watching this episode because of the passing of Jason David Franks today, There are 4 dead people in this episode, which is just disturbing and sad. There is Tommy Oliver, the White Ranger. There's the voice of Zordon, not the face of Zordon, but the voice of Zordon. Then there's the voice of Lord Zed, who also is the voice of Finster in this episode, and the voice of Rito. All have sadly passed away. And so with this episode, Wizard for a day is actually Teacher for a day. Rocky has switched places with that of his science teacher. His science teacher is like a drill sergeant. He's very strict, he's very stern, and he's looking very forward to being a teenager again, whereas Rocky is very unconfident in being that of a teacher. He's very nervous. Like, and that's something we'll see in Zeo with Rocky, not having a lot of confidence when he then later gets placed as the Blue Ranger in Zeo. And, but I like the idea that he is going to stick it out no matter what, even though he is scared. Bulk and Skull are idiots as always. They're junior police that on the junior police force and everything. It's weird. You never see them in school no more, but they're always around as cops. And when they see Rocky with like the teacher edition books and everything, they assume he stole them. So they re-steal those out his locker. When he forgets the books, he runs to his lockers and he realizes there are no books there. So how is he supposed to teach the class? He is unprepared. And that's something that sucks because he should always be prepared when you're a teacher. And so he has to learn that lesson eventually in the episode and stuff. While this is going on, Rito decides he wants to trade places with Zed and them because he's feeling underappreciated. So they let him be the ruler for a day, but Rito has no idea what he's doing. And so when Rocky is in, trying to teach the class, he mixes up the chemicals and it causes like gas to go everywhere. And, and then when his teacher is being a teenager in class, he is being a teacher and everything, telling people to sit up, stop slacking around, and he's causing a disturbance to where he has to go to detention. So at some point in the episode, both Rocky and his teacher have a heart-to-heart, and they realize doing each other's job is hard. And that's a great lesson to learn because it's kind of like when students, when they see their teachers, they don't realize how much their teachers have to go through. Well, when he leaves his teacher, Rito sends down the Tangas, and they assume the teacher is that of Rocky. So Rocky, he brings on his Ninja Ranger power, and I love the Ninja Ranger suits, man. Those ninja suits from the movies, whew, those were some nice suits and everything. I was so glad when they finally brought the toys out for those. Hasbro and stuff, boy, I made sure I got one. And so he's fighting them, but he's having a hard time and everything. So he calls on the other Rangers. And this is the part that's really confusing. We don't see Kimberly a lot in this episode. And when we see the gang, they're all at the youth center. So, of course, they're in their typical archway and everything, where they get a call from Zordon. And so Tommy calls Kimberly on the communicator. And where do we see Kimberly? In the other archway of the youth center. If she's in the same building as them, around the same area, why didn't she just meet up with them? Why? It's because Amy Jo Johnson, this was around the time she was starting to quit Power Rangers. So she was seeing less and less in the show. She was supposed to leave before the movie, but stuck around. So they all morph. And then so when Rocky is getting pulverized by some Tangas, they all jump on top of him. But when he throws them off, all of a sudden the team is there. I love when they do those ninja magic tricks. Those are awesome. And so they start whooping on them and everything. One interesting thing about season 3 when they got their ninja powers is that the fights became, the Ninja Ranger fights became very comedic, but they were also very cool. There was a lot of jumping, a lot of flips, a lot of hand posing, but not a lot of like ninja fighting, just like a lot of like cool choreography, but not so much fighting choreography. This was just to make them look stylish and cool. And also in season 3, The choreography team, they really didn't do much fighting for like the Rangers in season 3, which was kind of lackluster. Also, it's weird that like both the females have like men body shapes when they're in their Ninja Ranger suits. Could they not get female stunt doubles and stuff? So anyway, Rito comes down there with Zed's staff, and he accidentally turns the teacher into a monster. The monster name is silly. It's like Meanie something. And so the Rangers, they have to stop him. So they morph into their Power Ranger suits. And I love when they morph from their Ninja Ranger suits to that of their Power Ranger suits. It's always a nice visual. And so, they're fighting like they're always doing. But then the monster lets them know what his power is. He turns some of the Rangers into like test tubes with chemicals in them. Now, what I like about Rocky is that he informs the audience that cover your nose because some of the chemicals could be poisonous, which is true. This is why you're never supposed to put your nose directly to a beaker or a tube and start sniffing stuff. You're always supposed to bring it away from your face and like fan it to your face. That's something I learned in chemistry class. And so next thing you know, all the Rangers get turned into test tubes and chemicals. And Rocky is the only one left. So after he fights his way through, he gets the canisters and the test tubes, and he goes back to the command center. I always love it when they're in the command center with their helmets off. It's always a nice visual. And so like Alpha has no idea how to turn the Rangers back. But yet Zordon somehow through the morphing grid knows that like he has to turn the Rangers back from liquid to human before they destroy the monster and everything, because if not, they'll stay that way forever. So Rocky, now being very focused and determined because his friends are in trouble, he uses his smarts from his chemistry class, and him and Alpha devise a way to turn the Rangers back to human, and it works. And I like that. At first, it started off with him just like not being very confident and everything, but when something bad happened to the people he cared about, he got his butt in gear, and he helped his friends out. And one thing I always loved about the old school Power Rangers when they was in the command center, boy, they really shine those helmets up. They always sparkle when they're in that command center. You don't see that no more in Power Rangers. I miss that. Like, how much wax did they use and everything? So they head back and they fight like, the monster. But then Rito turns the monster huge. And it's always good to see the Zord action and stuff in Power Rangers back in the old day. It was so cool back then. Nowadays, not so much. And so they call on the Zords and they're fighting. But Rocky, feeling guilty that he let the teacher get turned into a monster, he wants to take the solo fight to the monster. So he takes his ape Zord off the rest of the Zords, and then he fights the monster solo. And I always love when Rocky did his solo fights in his ape Zord, because they're always so cool, and I wish there were more of them. And so, like clockwork, he defeats that of the monster. So after that, they're back in their youth center, and Bulk and Skull return the books, and he's pissed because he's all like, because of you guys, like I failed today, trying to be like a teacher. And so the teacher reprimands Bulk and Skull and scares the crap out of them and stuff. And like, it ends. And I like this episode. I like how Rocky took front and center, even though he is second in command, and it would have been interesting. I was really curious to know what Rocky would be like as the leader of like the Power Rangers and stuff. But sadly, Han Saban went into fan service and and made the White Ranger like the leader and stuff, which made sense at that time, because Tommy is the most popular like Power Rangers and everything, and so it just totally made sense. But I was curious to know, what would Rocky truly be like if he was like a leader, like truly like the leader and stuff. We'll never know. Now, when it comes to Steve Cardenas, he has returned to Power Rangers twice now. He returned for that of Ninja Steel, and he's going to return once again as the Red Ranger in the 30th anniversary on Netflix when it comes out next year. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.